is the reality. Um, you
Yeah,
know,
AB 1955, I think, is out there. And I just watch, the left and the right go back and forth as to what they believe in. And I'm just baffled as to some of the educators that lean left honestly think that they have a stronger and better relationship with our children than we do, whether or not we've been taking care of our children since they were born, and that they have every right to give that child a safe place, and that's what they think is safe. um
yes.
yeah, no way I'm no way am I going to be voting for anything that comes out of the left at this point in time. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
that's the most scary part, is the agenda that they're pushing on our children.
And I'd say it's a very dangerous agenda as well. I will commend the parents for the level of patience that they have expressed, um, because what's happening, and I don't know that, most of your teachers are probably in their 20s and 30s, and I don't think that they really understand how they fit into a bigger picture. But what they are trying to do is effectively create a scenario where your children, anybody's child that's in the educational system, learns to be more reliant on government. And I'm using the word government in lieu of the school, in lieu of whatever authority entity it is that your children are going to operate under for the rest of their lives, because their world is not our world. The world that we grew up in does not exist anymore. Their world is a very different, far more contrived, far more designed uh, space than anything we could have comprehended at the time. The the outcome that I see happening is one of two. Parents are either going to stand up and fight, and they are going to push back with everything. Like, there's the mom army. There's mom army, dad army. That's an amazing group of people that are doing exactly this. They are standing up, they are fighting, and they are helping parents organize. And I would encourage anybody that's kind of on the same page that you and I are on, to look at mom army, dad army. I'm thinking about starting an uncle army, because that's a thing. So I yeah. But the problem that we run into is that this is kind of this long-term uh, inculcation process that takes place. And what will happen is, if they if a parent doesn't have the ability to pull their child out of education, which, I mean, you've got to really stop and pause for a second and think about what you just said. You're talking about pulling your child out of school that is in a system in the fifth largest economy in the world, and you are going to pull them out of that and say, I can do better. And the reality is, you're correct. You can do better, because one, you care, and you're not paid to care. You pay to care. But this whole, and it's hard to talk about these things because there's so many people that will just cast it aside as nonsense. But when you watch what the parents are doing on a daily basis just to make it so that their children have access to a decent education, not a good education, a decent education, because I think California ranks, what are we, 43rd or 48th? Why? Why would we? Which,
Go
I mean,
slower and lower.
we were the pinnacle of education, whether it be public education, private education. For the longest time, for decades, we were the pinnacle. And now we're talking about basically an inversion, where the people who care the most, and we're trying to find the right schools to send their children to, are now saying, I'm done. And this is not acceptable at all. And I am going to, while still paying my taxes, still paying my property taxes, which then cover my school costs, some of it, even though, I mean, my
Those
sister
go up.
has kids.
Those go
Yeah.
up too every year.
And every time I turn around, there's another fundraiser for an
Mhm,
elementary school. Why is my sixth grade nephew raising funds for his school? Why?
mhm. Yep, you're right.
That's
You're
because these property prices are not small, right? This is not, I think the median home in Sonoma County is $600,000, $700,000. So it's not a funding issue. It's it's a it's a leadership issue. And I do believe that the parents need to get involved because as much power as somebody in Congress has, they don't have the same power as a bunch of organized parents in their school district. I mean,
Wow,
that's the reality.
that's
And but it comes down to us getting involved. It comes down to the parents stepping up and fighting because if we do not do the next generation is lost. And everybody always says this election is the most important election. And I never used to really agree with that, but the reality is that each election is the most important one because it's the one here now making the decisions for the future.
great.
This decision this November is going to be arguably the most existential decision that we're going to make as a country, as a state, as a region about who's going to be in charge and what path are we going to go down. Because right now, we not only have royally destroyed our environment, we have destroyed our economy, and our educational system is, I would argue, in the dumps.
Mhm.
The question is, how much longer? How much longer do we put up with this as parents, as uncles, as aunts, as family? How much longer do we pay into a system? Do we support a system that is not supporting us? And anywhere you can look at a lot of different metrics to figure out where we are, but I feel education is one of those that's pretty objective. You are either giving your students high quality education or you are not. And if
Mm,
we're ranked in the 40s, we are not. But they are the education of the current, of the youth. We set them up to be the leaders of tomorrow. And we've always heard these phrases and they're all kind of become cliche. But everything that we are arming them with today is what they will have to fight with tomorrow. And I am fighting to make sure that they have everything available to them. Otherwise, everybody is going to suffer more than we can even see today. And so that's why I harp on education as much as I do, because if we are not engaging our youth to address the challenges of tomorrow,
mm.
then we are setting them up to fail. And I can't accept it. And I can't let that just happen. And that's